Indeed you do. Sponsored jobs on Indeed are 2.5 times faster to first hire. Visit Indeed.com.
We see them all over the place. I didn't know anything about it until I started doing research for this video. Here's what I found on the Google machine, digging around, and I might paraphrase a little bit just for, brevity. Perry Rail Service is a rail inspection company founded in 1928 by Elmer Ambrose Sperry. This company was the first one in the world to offer non-destructive testing of railroad rails. Dr. Sperry is a... what now? Oh, now he's a doctor. Okay. Dr. Sperry is one of the most highly productive inventors of his time, holding over 400 patents. He's only eclipsed by Thomas Edison as far as the number of patent holders. The guy was busy, I guess. By the late 19th century, train derailments, which they believe many were caused by what they called transverse fissures, were increasing. Dr. Elmer Perry began developing a method for locating internal rail defects back in 1911. An operator lying on his belly, getting pushed around on a rail car, holding this thing out in front of him, was held up against the rail. And it did do a good job of finding, they said, both kinds of fissures, but it says that serious difficulties were encountered during the testing process. I suppose, guys out there, okay. Dr. Perry and his staff found a whole new way of finding fissures in the rails. Back in 1928, it was called the induction method. It also found split heads and other invisible defects. While this was a lot better than the original method, it had a little bit of shortcomings. It didn't do very good at the end of the rails, where they were bolted together with the bolts and the bars back in the day. And it also didn't do a very good job in the switches where the frogs come together, so those had to still be checked by hand. In 1960, the induction method was helped along by a new mobile, semi-automatic, ultrasonic inspection equipment that Sperry had invented, him and his team. What's the difference between induction and ultrasonic inspection methods? Well, induction one, I found this huge article and I edited it down to get to just the meat and potatoes of it. And there's no way I'm going to be able to remember this and regurgitate it to you line by line. I'm just going to read it off, throw some images up every now and then, because I don't use these kind of words day to day and it's a little tough. Induction testing requires the introduction of a high-level direct current around 1200 to 3600 amps into the railhead, establishing a magnetic field around the railhead. During this process, the railhead becomes an electrical circuit that flows longitudinally along the railhead. The induction sensor unit is then passed through the magnetic field. If you ever played with a magnet and some iron, some metal filings, and you put it down and you can see it makes this shape on it, well, that's what they're building. When motion is introduced, that means they move this along the rail, the sensor unit moves through the magnetic field and it detects a distortion in the concentric lines of force in the established magnetic field. This force is measured as a voltage. They'll see it in, put the sensors and it'll make the needle go. If the sensor unit is passed through the magnetic field and there's no distortion, then the rail is serviceable. Any condition such as a defect will distort the current path. That sounds pretty straightforward. I like it. It's like magnafluxing. That's what it sounds like to me, that we used on engines back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. I don't know if they magnaflex anything anymore. With ultrasonic detection, the search unit houses multiple sensors aligned in various planes in relation to the railhead. These are used to allow the detection principle of ultrasonic testing. Here's an image we got here. The image on the left shows a probe, sends a sound wave into the test material. There are two indications, one from the initial pulse of the probe and the second due to the back wall echo. The right image, or the right half of this picture, shows that a defect creates a third indication and simultaneously reduces the amplitude of the back wall indication. The depth of the defect is determined by the ratio. So they can just see how the waves are reflecting, the sound wave makes them tell that there's a they're saying, hey, we gotta fix this. That's what they're saying, yeah. Holy moly, there's our science lesson for the day. Let's